Hello there and welcome to this vlog of March 2023. It's the second day of the Kickstarter and I just wanted to do a little bit of myth busting on some of the commentary that I'm seeing about the lack of value that you get in this Kickstarter. So long story short, I've been at work today and it's pretty busy today. But I got home like an hour ago. It's now 7 p.m. in the evening, and for the last hour, I've just been collating some data and just running some numbers about the average price cost that we are seeing this time, cross compared against the Clan Invasion Kickstarter from a few years ago. So yeah, I'm going to kind of delve into that at some decent level. It's not 100% accurate, which I'll go on to discuss when we get onto that, but just give you some kind of idea, and I think it gives you a ballpark idea of the value that you get on this, because I'm just seeing a lot of people saying things like oh, they're just kind of releasing all these packs at retail value, which is not a million miles away from the truth, but neither really was the last Kickstarter. So you're talking a matter of, not much money at all really between the last one and this one when you calculate everything. So anyway, we'll get onto that shortly. I've got that kind of in Excel format. Before I get into that though, there is just one thing that I want to discuss as an update that Catalyst put out really quite recently, I think within the last 20 minutes. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, I kind of need to split this video into two parts really. So let's do that first. So this, again, this was released very, very recently. This is by Rem. Rem is, from the last post that I saw, is the new marketing director at Catalyst Games. That's an amazing step because I think Rem is starting to kind of clear up and fix a lot of the, let's be frank about it, there are communication issues. I've spoke about it at length previously in other videos, was talking a little about it yesterday as well in regards the fact we didn't get a full itinerary of what all the force packs contained, which was problematic and confusing. I think Rem, who's I believe is very, very new to this role, has kind of seen everyone's comments and is now proactively looking to do something about it, which is something honestly I believe the people at Catalyst have needed for some time. So I'm massively in favour of Rem's appointment. Hopefully that works out in the long run, and Catalyst and us are the real beneficiaries of this. Anyway, I'm just going to read through this statement so we can ascertain some more data as well, because this might actually change my equation a little bit that I'm going to talk about in a second, because it looks like we're actually potentially going to get some more stuff here in terms of plastic miniatures. Anyway, so I'm taking today off Adepticon and GaryCon to dive into comments, messages, etc., and to address some of your requests. So, first of all, it's a very important point because I think they're obviously releasing this at a Kickstarter, which has got lots of logistical issues obviously surrounding that. So, the fact that Rem is sensible enough to just distance themselves from the event and kind of sit and actually do this, which is absolutely necessary, is a very good sign. Anyway, I digress. I'm working with our graphic designer to update the rewards levels to include all stretch goals that each reward is currently getting, including 4 million, as I'm hoping to have the graphics as we cross that line, which will be very shortly. I think we're only $200,000 away from that 4 million mark now, so that'll absolutely certain will be reached over the weekend. We will also be calculating the total retail range for each reward and stretch goals so you can see directly your savings. And that's kind of what I'm going to do now. So not that I'm wanting to take the wind out of Rem's sails, but the stuff that people like me do on YouTube and talk about and things like that, that's where we get a little bit frustrated because we kind of we shouldn't have to do this. This should kind of be, the comms that the company are putting out. Certainly what I'd be doing if I were them. So it looks now like Rem's on that and going to change it. Anyway, so let's continue. Where are we here? Oh, yeah, this will be within a range since several items vary, like force packs, for instance, which can be between $30 and $40 depending on which you choose on the pledge manager. That's always going to be a factor with Kickstarters because obviously those levels change. We are also getting graphics for newer stretch goals for you, so you can see what you are getting. And I think the way that Rem is talking here, that's going to be quite clarified. So they're going to actually drill down into some detail, and so it's not just lost in all the kind of miasma of the Kickstarter page. I think it just needs to spell out exactly what you get for your money here, which is what I'm going to do now, kind of in terms of how I've purchased the Kickstarter. But Rem will hopefully be able to do it, so you'll be able to see then what you are getting for what you've pledged. Right, one of our initial goals of the campaign was to have all pre-production, sculpts, art, etc. done so that we could fulfill quickly for you. All force packs up to 3 million stretch goals mark are already completely ready to produce. However, one of the main things we've gleaned from your feedback, you've given is more minis. Got it loud and clear. That's certainly a case. Just quick point before we go on here. In the last Kickstarter, they obviously did the duplication force or duplicate forces. So if you kind of got access to, I don't know, like 8 of the force packs with one of the pledges, one of the stretch goals, I can't remember how they did it now, but it was like, oh, you just got 16. So massive bonus, right? Like, it was a huge increase in plastic miniatures. They've said specifically now they are not going to do that. I didn't realise this yesterday, but it is on the it's on the page on the Kickstarter. They've got like a questionnaire list, like an FAQs page, and it does say on that, are we going to duplicate it? And it says specifically, no, unfortunately not this time. I agree with that decision. I think, you can kind of do that like once across like a massive campaign, like the Clan Invasion's Kickstarter. But for this, they've always kind of put the comms out saying it was going to be a little bit more lo-fi. There were going to be less mechs or units involved. The last Kickstarter, I think there were like 90 plus units. Now we're talking about maybe like 60. So it's significantly smaller. So, I support that decision. I think what they did yesterday, though, when people were kind of kicking off about it a little bit, they kept drip feeding things in like, oh, if we get to 4 million, we'll give you another force pack and a free salvage point or something like that. So that's obviously what they're trying to do now, just to keep the reins on it but still give us some like value for money. Anyway, here we go. This is what the plan is. So here's our new plan. Every 2 million starting at 4 million, we are going to unlock a new force pack for add-on. We have 2 force packs that are 70% designed, but each one will extend the time of fulfillment to put the work in. All said and done, we're talking 2 to 3 more months for up to 8 million on the Kickstarter. 8 million is going to be really special, and we're ironing out some finer details before I can announce what is in each force pack. So that's super interesting. So, I mean, I'm hoping that doesn't delay proceedings too much. I don't think it necessarily will. Like, they've touted for June next year. So you're talking like, 14, 15 months. More 14 months, really, because we're at the end of March now. But I don't mind them doing that. I think if they're sensible, like force packs that they had planned for like maybe the autumn that they were going to bring out at retail, maybe they just kind of bring that back, put it into the Kickstarter, try to max out as much money as they can on this, because 8 million is an attainable goal now. I keep revising that figure because obviously it was yesterday was so extraordinary, but I get the impression, I mean, I'd be, just over this current month, I'd be very, very shocked if it did less than 6 million. So if they extend it a little bit and get 8, and then on 8 they can do something completely balmy, because at that point they've absolutely they've blown their figure so far out of the park. I mean, it's, like, I mean, what could you say, really? Like, they've gone from like a over 2 million Kickstarter to potentially an 8 million Kickstarter in just like a couple of years, which is just massive. Anyway, here we are. So getting to the end of this now. Additionally, every 2 million starting at 3 million means more plastic, more salvage boxes and force packs. So that's confirming again what they've already stated, which is like every maybe like million level that they get, you will get to add in another force pack. So instead of doing duplicates, it's like they'll kind of give you that much, or they'll give you more if they can meet that those like high level criteria. Kind of really to the end of this now, and like I said in the last update, we are working with some vendors and crunching some numbers to see what else we can add to sweeten the pot as we continue to grow. Now that's obviously in relation to swag. I know a lot of people have like complained that the swag on this Kickstarter isn't anything like as elaborate as last time, and it's not. I'm actually completely supportive of that. I think if they're not careful with swag, and this happened on the last Kickstarter, it starts to really weigh down the project and starts to get very messy. I'd much rather they keep it quite like, as lo-fi as possible. And they've got like, you can get like patches and lapel pins and badges and things like that. Great. That's fine, because then there's only like a few things, but you get quite a few of them, and I'm completely fine with that. I mean, I know everyone wants weird and wonderful things, but ask yourself, do you really want that? Do you use it? Do you use the Star League keychain or the dog tags? Where is it? Is it now just sat in a box somewhere, or you sold it on eBay? So before you just want, just kind of think, do I actually need and require that? Because I can say, like, hand on heart, that the swag stuff, I actually do use it, but I wouldn't go out and chase and buy it if I just didn't get it for free. And if I get it for free on a Kickstarter, great, it's a little bonus, and I can use it to like decorate my shelves or whatever else. Right, next part of this is just like a logistical thing. So remember, we are only a day in day 2, and most of our team's at the convention. Let's celebrate this first weekend together and make some more decisions as we go. Today, my focus is on updating the Kickstarter page for clarity and responding to this passionate community. Ava, Thor, and Chris are here supporting me too and taking some time out to rest themselves of the excitement of yesterday. Right, again, great post, very, very clear. I think they will be on it now. So before we see all this data that we are going to get from Rem and team over the next few days, let's go and have a look at some empirical data. So yesterday I signed up for 2 regiments and 1 battalion. That is a total of $1,250. So the regiments are $500 each. The battalion is $275. Now, what I've done here, and this is the latest data that we've got, I've kind of broken down how many force packs I'm getting, which ones I am going to choose from, and then I've also factored in the salvage boxes and the stretch goal bonuses as well that we found out from yesterday. And then we've got here like a total unit list. So, yeah, I mean, I knew kind of what I wanted before this Kickstarter went underway. I knew, for instance, that I wanted 4 like recon lances and 4 pursuit lances. We've been able to get more than that now because of these stretch goal bonuses, and that's thanks to you, the people that have been buying the Kickstarter. So all these like extras that we're getting, it's because of how successful it is. So first thing to note is because I'm getting the 2 regiments, 1 battalion, that means that I'll be getting 3 of the mercenary force packs. That's a total of 36 units. So you get 12 units in each box. Nice and straightforward. The force packs here are all self-apparent, so this is how many I'm getting of each one. You'll see that I'm really kind of low on the amount of vehicles that I'm going to purchase, which are all these, the battlefield support ones here. That's just because I've talked about this before. I really like and have quite a few of the old like Railpath or Ironwind vehicles, and I actually really like them. So I'm no rush to get to overhaul my. In fact, not no rush. I don't intend to overhaul my metal collection, but I am getting one of each and putting them in basically in the Dusk Haunter forces because they do look great. I just don't need it across the entire support battlefield. That's just excessive. Inner Sphere battle armor as well, that might go up considerably now. I just planned on getting 1, but now we might be getting loads of excess in this stretch goal. I mean, why not get a company of of battle armor? We'll see. Anyway, I'll see how that goes. The one thing that's not listed here is the legendary Mech Warrior Pack 3, which is the Bounty Hunter pack. I spoke about this in one of the videos yesterday. I don't need that because I already have a very, very extensive Bounty Hunter force, and I've just literally done it, so really don't need to go and get that. But this second pack here is the one with all the kind of what I'd call the indie team, the cool mech warriors and legends of the BattleTech universe. So it's not like your Grayson Carlisle's and your Natasha Kerenskis. It's people like Jeremiah Thorne in his Charger. But it's still a very cool pack, so I'll certainly be getting that. So that's the total force packs. Then yesterday we found out on the stretch goal bonuses. Now, I can't remember exactly how they comprise this, but I've worked it out. I worked it out yesterday in preparation for this video. So it's like, what they said is like if you backed at Regiment and we go to 4 million, then you will get an extra force pack and salvage pack. So that basically comprises these here. So I worked with the 2 regiments and the 1 battalion. I'll be getting 6 extra ones, so I've factored those in. So I'm going to get 2 of each of these lance packs here. So that's heavy recon, recon lance, and pursuit lance. Now, this is where it gets slightly confusing. The salvage boxes, you get +1 salvage box for every inner sphere pack. Now, that's really important, not for a clan pack, because with a clan star, you get 5 mechs in the box. For an inner sphere lance, you obviously get 4, but to make up for the shortfall, they give you that +1. I'm going to assume that those salvage boxes are just the inner sphere mechs, but I am not sure. Like, it might be everything. It might be the clan mechs in there as well. We will find out when we open the boxes, I'd imagine. So I think it would be difficult to get an answer from Catalyst if what they're doing on that. They might not even know yet. They just know they're doing salvage boxes. Either way, though, it's fine. It's nice that it just makes up that shortfall. So if you see on the figures here, so like on the heavy recon lance, for instance, I'm getting 4 in like the core packs. I've got 2 on the stretch goals. So that's 6 packs. Each one's a +1, so that's a total of 6 salvage boxes, ergo 6 mechs. So then the total number of mechs that I'm getting on the heavy recon lance is 4 + 2 + 6, which is 30. You then know just one little discrepancy here on the salvage boxes. You do get salvage boxes. First of all, we've got them in terms of a stretch goal bonus, and they're kind of built into the unlocks across like 500,000, a million, and 1.5 million, which have obviously all been blown out of the water. So I worked out that is a total of 14 salvage boxes through that. So in grand total, I will be getting 40 salvage boxes. And that's probably just the start of it. Like, if we look at Rem's post previously, it did say in there that they'll be unlocking more points. So it might be, if they get up to 8 million, I might be getting 44, 45 salvage boxes, something like that. Plus other stretch goal bonuses as well. So this figure of it's a grand total of all the figures, so it's 233. That might suddenly like go up to 250, 260 over the next few weeks. They've also announced that they're going to unlock new things. So I think yesterday they announced there was going to be another battlefield support pack, I think. Don't quote me on that though, because I'm going off memory there, and now I've said it, I'm not 100% sure at all. But I do know they've said that there'll be special things happening, right? If they start breaching into these 6, 7, 8 million tiers. So it could be that they just say like, oh, here, we'll just do the. Like I was talking about yesterday, I'd love like the Word of Blake pack, or another like Comstar pack where you're getting things like the Rygen, things like that. So again, I know people were disappointed we didn't see that yesterday. There is still time, absolutely. So, but at the moment we're sat on 233. So that's for what I bought in that. So that's the 2 regiments, the 1 battalion. Now at the bottom here, so we've got another little bit of Excel data. This is the cross comparison that this is what I did this evening, very quickly worked it out between this Kickstarter and the last one. So this is the Mercenary Kickstarter. So let me increase this a bit. This is the Mercenary Kickstarter. So the 2 regiments, the 1 battalion that I've just purchased, against the Clan Invasion Kickstarter. Now, this is not perfect because I'm 75% over on what I've spent on the Mercenary Kickstarter here, just in terms of how the tiers works. But again, this is a rough kind of estimate, but this is what you got for your money on 4 times Star Colonels. Star Colonels, if you remember, were the $300 levels, and I believe they were generally seen as the best value. And when I factored all this in, so like you can see here, I've put the figures down. So if you bought 4 times Star Colonels, I worked out you got 228 units. On their comms, because the Kickstarter page is still active for the Clan Invasion, not active, but it's still there for the Clan Invasion, it does say you get 55 mechs, but that's not actually correct. You get more than that because you got like an urban mech, and you got like the salvage box from the first, what did they call it? Heroes of the legendary box that they did the first time, the one with like Natasha Kerensky's Direwolf in it, things like that. So you got one of those and an urban mech, and I think you might have even got two extra salvage packs or something like that. So it ended up more around like, the high 50 mark. Anyway, worked it out, and I could be off on this by a couple, but I worked it out 228 units. I then just did a very easy like average. So the amount of how many what a unit one point of a unit or a mech or a vehicle or whatever else, how much each one cost per unit in it. So here are the figures. The last clan invasion, it was $5.26, and this mercenary is Kickstarter is $5.47. So a grand total of 0.21 cents more, which I think I'm safe in saying is not the worst thing in the world. I mean, that's probably below inflation. But one other thing to factor as well, because I've spent more money in terms of this analysis on what I've bought this time as opposed to the 4 star kernels, that will absolutely have a fact in this. So it's actually more, I don't know, maybe like 0.28 per unit or something like that, or an increase in that. I'm terrible at maths. English is my thing, really. That's what I do in my career. So I'm not going to sit here and claim that I'm smart enough at math to be able to sit and do all this. But I think this just gives you a rough estimate in terms of like, even if it's off by like 10 cent or whatever, you're not talking about like end of the world thing here. They're not basically saying, oh yeah, a mech's gone from like $5 for a unit to $8 a unit, and that's more than you'd actually spend on retail. I'd say the increase is relatively negligible. When you're buying at those like bulk rates, obviously the stats that I've got here are skewed slightly because most people are just going to get one Kickstarter. But this is, if you are going in at multiple buy-ins or however else you're doing it. But I think this gives a good cross comparison, dispels a few myths about this notion that Catalyst are somehow sat there like rubbing their hands together, like, fawning over how much they've just screwed the community over. I don't know how people get into that like headspace when they're thinking about stuff like this. I think what happens is there are certain people out there, and I'm not going to mention any names because we all know who they are, who basically run a hack career of causing problems and building up negative buzz on places like YouTube to get people to view their clickbaity, terrible content where they just talk about hyperbole and no statistics and no figures, and just basically give opinion piece over opinion piece about how horrible the world is and how everything's bad. And it's nonsense. I've said this numerous times. Be very, very careful about the media that you consume. I can see it just in terms of like the group think on like the on the Kickstarter comment board. It's like one person starts like moaning about something like what I'm talking about here about the raise in cost, which is completely not backed up by any fact or evidence, and then all of a sudden that's somehow like gospel truth, because negativity usually rings out. I think it's the job of people like me and people like me to kind of put the brakes on those people and just say to, the normies amongst us, they don't know what they're talking about. And I can categorically tell you that they don't. I hope that there's enough data that I've provided here that if you start seeing people saying stupid, incorrect things, you can at least challenge them and say, actually, it's you're aware that they're talking. It's like we're getting completely fleeced on this. We are not. In fact, quite the contrary. I think this Kickstarter will make so much money, and these Kickstarter stretch goals over the next like couple of months are going to get so excessive. You might find that this is actually cheaper per unit after 2 months. And that's another point. I had to make this comment onto someone on the Kickstarter page over the last 24 hours. I was like, can you please exercise some patience? We're like in day one of this. Like, who knows what's going to happen over the next 30 days? We got the last Kickstarter. I remember they hid it very well. They obviously released the Aerotech piece that everyone got like a free Aerotech model, which was kind of, they'd done it like very like hush hush, and very nice thing to do, but it was a massive project. I mean, that was, the factory will have had to spend like days and days out in China, getting all those things ready and making them all and putting them into the box sets and stuff. They're probably going to do stuff like that here. I mean, with 8 million books, I mean, I think the guys at Catalyst are going to be like Scrooge McDuck rolling in money. I mean, everyone will be delighted with them. If the liaison at Tops will be like completely blown away by this, it'll be champagne in Berlin by Christmas for everybody. They're not. I mean, these guys. I do question sometimes, kind of like marketing acumen. That's why I'm so delighted that like Rem is now on board, because clearly has an eye for this and can see the problems and just kind of wants to, as we say in my kind of sector, that they're controlling the situation, right? Seeing a problem, dealing with it, getting the comms out there. And I think like from Catalyst standpoint, like whatever we criticise that area of it, or however I kind of give them a little bit of heat for that, these are incredibly like well-intentioned people who want nothing but the best for the community and the IP which they are protecting. I do wish people would realise that. Like, we could have a really faceless corporate organisation here who just did not give a damn, didn't bother going to conventions, just kind of, did a profit cost analysis where Kickstarters were just used as like an elaborate marketing campaign. They didn't give a damn about the community, and they just want to kind of raise the price of the IP so they can sell it on. We do not have that here, and we should fight to continue to not have that. So when, the sun is shining now, can we please make some hay and take some joy and appreciation out of what people 10 years ago thought was a dead IP, which is now one of the hottest like IP properties around in tabletop board gaming. I mean, it's the transformation is just absolutely remarkable. And whether you have got your issues with Catalyst for whatever reason or not, it is down to them. And I'm talking about the resurgence. I'm not talking about BattleTech in general. That is the community. I'm talking about this resurgence, the logistics behind it, the people putting together these Kickstarters, doing the redesigns, the artists who do the models, everyone, the 3D render people, the factories who are producing the products. This is a massive project that we are getting very good value on, and it's a monumental triumph. I mean, if you've got people thinking about and writing like marketing and communication strategies on how to make successful Kickstarters, this is going to have a chapter in that book somewhere, because it's very good. And I think if they've done the research on it, the preface of it will be, and it was kind of done by a set of gaming guys who didn't really kind of know the nuances of marketing and comms. So all power to them. They've done a superb job. So congratulations all round. And I for one am delighted, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I'm very, very proud of them. I know people have got their issues with Catalyst for multitude of sundry reasons that everybody knows about, but I'm not one of them. I'm thinking this is glorious, and I'm just going to bask now in the glory of BattleTech for at least like a month while all this kind of Kickstarter stuff resonates down, and God willing they'll meet the 8 million target. That would be superb. I mean, talk about like just smashing it out of the park. I note as well that all the kind of big critics, again, we know who they are, like the YouTube channels, etc., gone very quiet all of a sudden. I mean, I'm sure they'll pop back up when something that they can prattle on about and cause controversy over to get those clicks. I'm sure they'll come back. But right now, it's just deafening silence. Beautiful. Anyway, on that bombshell, I shall leave it here. I shall thank you very much for watching. I might do sporadic videos over the next week as we get like updates on the Kickstarter. Maybe not this long and maybe not in this much depth, but you next time you see me anyway, hopefully it will be more joyous news on like goals being reached and more kind of elaborate force packs being introduced and things of that nature. Anyway, I'll bid you all a fond farewell, and I'll hopefully catch you again next time.